Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here today. I love the energy in the room this morning. I think it's because we've got another awesome topic to talk about, and I'm excited to hear from our presenters. But before we get too far, we will start with our reflection. This is one that I actually pull out every November, and it's one of my favorites. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, and then today, if you could say an extra prayer of thanks for all of our veterans on Veterans Day, that would be appreciated as well. This is called Be Thankful For. Be thankful that you don't already have everything you desire. If you did, what would there be to look forward to? Be thankful when you don't know something, for it gives you the opportunity to learn. Be thankful for those difficult times. During those times, you grow. Be thankful for your limitations, because they give you opportunities for improvement. Be thankful for each new challenge, because it will build your character and strength. Be thankful for your mistakes. They will teach you valuable lessons. Be thankful when you're tired and weary, because it means you've made a difference. It is easy to be thankful for the good things. A life of rich fulfillment comes to those who are also thankful for the setbacks. Gratitude can turn a negative into a positive. Find a way to be thankful for your troubles, and they can become your blessings. All right, so we have a number of things in front of you this morning. Some of them are familiar, some of them are different. I'll talk about the things that are a little unique. You'll see a sheet here about the Associate Holiday Wellness Challenge. I think our presenters will be talking about that today, but there's some take-home information for you. The No One Go Friday for next month is our December, we've had this for a couple of years running now, our New Year, New You panel. That's always well received, so mark that date, December 9th. And then finally we have a coupon in front of you, $5 off a $10 or more over-the-counter product at our pharmacies. I found it interesting, I didn't know this statistic until very recently, but we have over 100 associates working in our retail pharmacies. That's quite a few people. And it's a tremendous service that we are able to offer to our associates and also to our patients with that. So just in the interest of promoting the pharmacies and the good work that they do, we're presenting this coupon to you today. All right, without further ado, I will introduce our presenters today. We have three presenters today. Chrissy and Morgan are here. They're our wellness coordinators. I found it very interesting. Katie always prepares the biography for me to share with you. And in reading these, I was really touched. And I always learn something about it. But in this particular case, I found it to be just very interesting, especially when I was reading about Chrissy and how she got to this role. It's a very personal role for her, and to be here. And she talked a little bit about her growing up and the struggles that we all have at times with nutrition and exercise and just being healthy and well. And she channeled those struggles into something very productive that she's able to share with us here at Agnesian. So thank you for doing that, Chrissy. Morgan is also a wellness coordinator here. She's been here for about a year. And her background is interesting as well. An athlete in college at UW-Oshkosh, she got into the kinesiology to pursue a degree in that, and that's what led her here. So I thought those are very interesting stories and different paths to the position that you both hold. And Dr. Jennifer Norden is here with us. Dr. Norden is our Integrative Health provider with Fond du Lac Regional Clinic, and she works over in the Health Plaza A building, so hopefully you've seen her over there. She earned her medical degree from the University of Wisconsin Medical School and completed her internal medicine residency at Oregon Health Sciences University. She completed additional training in integrative medicine at the University of Arizona and also medical acupuncture for physicians at the Helms Medical Institute at UCLA. So clearly very qualified. Dr. Norden is board certified in internal medicine, and we're very pleased to have her with us not only today, but just in general as part of our team. So with that, I'd like to introduce our presenters.
Thanks, Sally. Can you hear me? Is this on? Okay. So yeah, she gave my background in educational training, and I've been practicing integrative health here since May, and things are going actually very well. We use the Wheel of Health, and you guys have probably all seen this before, but I find this very helpful with my patients. I tend to see a lot of people who have chronic medical illnesses that haven't responded to a quick and easy fix. And when you're coping with something that's a chronic medical illness, it's really important to address it from a lot of different angles. So not only medications or pills like supplements, but also nutrition and what kinds of foods are we putting in our body, and personal and professional goals. Having a sense of purpose and mission in life is really important. Spiritual connection, social connections. I see a lot of people with chronic pain, and often there's very difficult, challenging relationships in those people's lives, and that's important to address. Environmental, working in a stressful environment can lead to a lot of problems. Emotional health. And that's mainly what we're going to talk about today, is stress management and emotional health. And this is just so important when you're dealing with chronic illnesses. So the types of problems that I see a lot of include irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety, depression, migraines, chronic pain, sometimes cancer patients, sometimes patients with the routine internal medicine type problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, or diabetes. And this holistic approach really works quite well for people who are dealing with that. And it's really important for them to understand how stress impacts their medical problems, because it influences the physiology of every organ system in our body. So just stepping back, the main causes of stress, when they've surveyed people, workload is number one. Number two is people issues, interpersonal relationships, and then juggling work and personal lives. And I certainly see a lot of working women, especially working mothers. It's just really a challenge to be able to balance everything that's going on, and lack of job security, that's also a significant stressor. Stress isn't necessarily bad. Sometimes we think we want to just get rid of stress, but it's actually not bad. And this is a curve that demonstrates this. So on the horizontal axis is the stress level, and on the vertical axis is performance or happiness and health. And we've probably all had times in our lives where we're not challenged quite as much as we would like to be, or we don't have that much stress, and it gets kind of boring, right? And depression can come out of that, like not having a sense of purpose, not being busy. And we've all had times, I'm sure, where the challenge level and the stress level is just a little too high for our comfort zone, and we go off the curve the other way. And so the optimal area of challenge is that shaded gray area in the center. And so it's important to kind of be aware of our own gifts and challenges and how we approach things, so that we can try to keep ourselves in that center optimal zone. So just a few more words about how stress impacts our overall health. And I'm sure we've all experienced this, but stress impacts the mind. As you know, when you're under stress, you tend to have more negative thinking and worrying, and maybe nightmares and difficulty sleeping. It can influence the body, headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, muscle tension. All of these things are impacted by the stress system. Emotions, we tend to be depressed or irritable. And then behavior. Sometimes we reach to alcohol, or we lash out at people, do things that we later regret. So it can certainly affect all of these different areas. So I talk with almost every patient about the physiology of stress and how it impacts every organ system in the body. So there's two parts to the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. It's also called the fight or flight response and the resting and digesting response. And the nerves from this come out of the brain, go down the spinal cord, and branch out and go to every cell and organ system in the body, and it helps regulate what's going on. So when that fight or flight response is active, we all know what that feels like, and if we've ever experienced an anxiety attack or a panic attack, we know what it feels like to have that turned up as high as it goes, right? Your heart rate is racing, your blood pressure goes up, your muscles are tense, glucose is mobilized. You're ready to respond to whatever the challenge is, and that can be good if a dog is chasing you, right? But it's not good when that's on all the time, because it can interfere with all sorts of things. When the parasympathetics, or the resting and digesting part of the nervous system, is active, then we tend to be more relaxed, we tend to be in a more positive state of mind, blood pressure and pulse are lower, blood's going to our gut, we're digesting our food more thoroughly, and we just overall feel better. That's the healing part of the nervous system. So these two parts are like a seesaw. When one is active, the other one isn't. And most people I see in my clinic are dealing with a lot of chronic problems and do have a lot of stress. And it's out of balance, where that fight or flight response is on more than the resting and digesting response, and that can lead to imbalances. And a lot of times when I explain this to people, then they're like, oh, that makes so much sense, because it impacts all the things that they have going on. This also can impact metabolism and weight. So sometimes I see people, they're like, I'm exercising, I'm eating right, and I'm just not losing weight. And if stress levels are high, cortisol is high. Cortisol is a lot like prednisone. We've all seen people who are on prednisone long term. It causes weight gain, right? Right around the middle too. So sometimes really focusing on stress management when people are trying to lose weight can make a difference. And it's important for each of us to be aware of where we seek refuge. Because when things aren't going well, when we're not feeling right, when we're stressed, sometimes we don't even recognize it, but we just automatically go to the cupboard and grab a bag of chips, or my favorite is chocolate. Other people go to cigarettes, and if you're trying to quit smoking, I think it's really important to have some stress management skills set up ahead of time, because stress is the thing that makes people go back to smoking probably more than anything. For some people it's alcohol, but then there's obviously healthy ways of managing stress too, like exercise and being with friends and meditating and praying and being in nature. And so it's important for us to be aware of what our tendencies are and then make decisions about whether we want to change that. So I just listed out some healthy ways of coping with stress, and this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but it can help people think about what they would like to be doing. So exercising, getting out in nature and connecting with others. I run outside with friends, I run with my husband almost every morning before work. And it's just, for me, that's really important for managing stress. Psychotherapy is sometimes helpful, especially if people are struggling with interpersonal relationships. Unplug, turn off the TV, especially this week, right? Even Facebook has been linked to poor emotional health. So I think it is important to get away from screen time. Know when to say no. This is something a lot of people struggle with. They just keep, pleasing people by saying, yes, I can do that. And pretty soon they're overloaded. Journaling, getting a massage, just scheduling time to get out and do fun things. And then the whole right side of this chart is focusing more on mind-body practices that can be helpful in managing stress. So praying, breathing, meditating, practicing yoga or Tai Chi, aromatherapy, music, guided imagery, progressive muscle relaxation, and gratitude practice, which Holly's reflection was perfect for this morning. So we're going to talk a little bit about breathing and how that impacts the autonomic nervous system. So when we are stressed, we tend to breathe in a particular pattern where we're breathing right up here at the top of our lungs, or we're even holding our breath. Whereas when we're relaxed, the muscles throughout all around the rib cage are relaxed, and we breathe all the way to the base of the lungs so that the belly expands on the inhale and contracts on the exhalation. And it can be important to check in with this and see how what our pattern of breathing is at different times during the day. And just by simply changing how we breathe, we can change the balance of the nervous system. So if you notice that sympathetic nervous system is overactive, just by taking a few deep breaths, you can change it. And it's sort of like exercising that relaxation response and making that part of the nervous system stronger. The mind jar down here, that's something that's been used actually in Madison. They've been doing some research on these sorts of breathing practices and meditation with little kids, like 3 to 5 year olds. It's kind of amazing. And they gave each of these kids a mind jar, and it's filled with glitter and stuff, and they tell them, okay, shake out the jar. That's what your mind is like when you're really upset, like if their friend takes their toy or something like that. And then they say, now watch what happens if you just take a few moments to take a few deep breaths, and all the glitter kind of settles out and they notice that they're feeling more calm. So they use tools like this to help teach this to kids. But I was asked to lead just a brief breathing exercise, so why don't we do that now? So I'll ask everybody to just sit upright in the chair with or stand in the back of this, fine too, with your feet flat on the floor. And you can put your hands, one hand or both hands on your belly so you can kind of feel what's going on. And just close your eyes. And just notice what your body feels like. Get settled in your body for a moment or two. And notice your breathing pattern. Notice where you're moving the breath. And now take a deep inhalation so that you notice your hands expanding and the belly expanding, almost like there's a balloon in the belly that you're blowing up with the inhalation. And then slowly exhale, complete exhalation. And again, a deep breath into the belly. And a slow, complete exhalation. You can go ahead and open your eyes. Relax. So the important thing with this is that it's slow and that there's a complete and long exhalation. When the exhalation is longer than the inhalation, that really helps to activate the resting part of the nervous system. And this simple breathing exercise, I hear back from patients all the time how much that helps them. And it doesn't take a lot of time. The hard part is remembering to do it, to actually do it. And I'll talk a little bit about that. For some people, focusing on the breath can trigger anxiety, especially people who have had panic attacks or that sort of thing, or severe asthma, something like that. I had a patient a few years ago who came to me for, she had migraines and back pain and a lot of stress and anxiety and a phobia about medical interventions, including like a simple medication change, because she had a really severe allergic reaction to a medication within the last few years, and she knew she had to have dental work done, and she was just very anxious about this. And so we started working together doing acupuncture and looking at her lifestyle, but also the breathing. And she found she couldn't focus on the breath because it was too anxiety provoking. But what she did was she used the words "I am at peace." So I am on the inhale, at peace on the exhale. And she did that numerous times a day and before bed, and she practiced it religiously for months. And she found that so helpful, and within about 6 months she was able to schedule her root canal or whatever she needed to have done. And I mean, they used lidocaine. I'm not going to say she did all this without pain medicine, but she was able to get through that, and anytime she noticed the panic and anxiety coming, she just went back to her breath, and it was able to really help her get through. So Andrew Weil was the leader of the program at Arizona that I went through, and he likes to use the 4-7-8 breathing. So I just thought I'd tell you about this. Personally, I don't like this, but that doesn't matter. A lot of people do like it, and the important thing is to find what you like and what works for you. But on this, you count, and sometimes counting can be really helpful because it gets your mind off your worries and whatever else you're thinking about. It gives your mind something to do. So you count to 4 on the inhale, then you hold your breath for 7 seconds, not 7 seconds, just a count of 7. You have to count kind of quickly to get through it. And then exhale for a count of 8. And so just doing this repeatedly can really help calm the nervous system. So what I usually recommend to patients is that they set some sort of reminder to remember to do this. So every time you're at a stoplight, use that as a reminder to check in with the breath. And to just, 3 seconds to check in. What are my emotions like right now? What's my stress level like? What's my muscle tension like? What's my posture like? What's my breathing pattern like? And then 3 deep breaths. And that, if you do that periodically throughout the day, like if somebody's working at a desk or computer, I recommend setting a timer every hour to remember to check in. And I see a lot of people with neck and shoulder tightness and headaches. And if they're working on the computer, the human body was not meant to work at a computer 8 hours a day. It's just not set up for that. And so this sort of practice, just checking in every hour, can be really beneficial in helping to break that muscle tension pattern and activate the relaxation response. So doing it just a few times during the day. And then, especially if people have a hard time sleeping, doing it before bed can be really beneficial. If you can get that relaxation response really active before you go to sleep and that fight or flight response relaxed, that state can persist throughout the night and can really help strengthen that relaxation part of the nervous system. So I recommend no screen time before bed for anybody who has difficulty sleeping, and a routine to unwind. I mean, maybe it's a bath, maybe it's just reading quietly, maybe it's music, lavender, and then a guided relaxation practice. So you're listening to somebody, an audio tape of somebody guiding you into a deep state of relaxation. And there's many different ways of doing it. 3 options are progressive muscle relaxation. This is where you tense up muscles. You go through your body systematically. You often start with the feet, tense up the feet, and then let them relax and feel what it feels like to have those muscles relax. And then you go up to your calf muscles and do the same thing. Quad muscles, and you kind of go all the way up the body. But having somebody guide you in it is really beneficial. And guided imagery uses the power of the imagination and the senses to induce a state of relaxation. So you might imagine yourself being on a beach or somewhere relaxing, and what it feels like and smells like and sounds like, and you use all the senses. Yoga Nidra is not a moving type of yoga, but it's a guided relaxation practice that a lot of people have found beneficial, meant to induce a state that's good for sleep. I am a big fan of yoga, especially the more relaxing types of yoga, because that seems to be what most people need in our culture. Not the hot yoga necessarily, unless you want to do it for exercise. But yoga incorporates the breath work along with movement of the body that can stretch and strengthen in a really balanced way. So that is something that I often recommend. Tai Chi is another moving meditation. This comes from China, whereas yoga comes from India. But you've probably seen pictures of people practicing practicing Tai Chi, like in China, where they're moving very slowly. The older Chinese people go to the park and practice this in the morning. And it can be really beneficial for activating the relaxation response, and it also helps with things like pain and balance. It's a really good thing for older people to do to improve their balance. A gratitude practice. So this can be really important. Neurologically, we are wired to pay attention to the negative things happening because that's helped us survive, right? But it's not really that good for emotional health. So really focusing on things that we're grateful for can help balance that out and help us to be a bit more optimistic. And writing things down can sometimes be more powerful than just thinking them. Saying them out loud also can be more powerful than just thinking them. But to really think of things that have been gifts in our life, focus on people and relationships, and reflect on what your life would be like without that gift, and savor surprises. So gratitude practice, I think, is important. It's a good month for that. Just a few words about meditation. I love that picture. So meditation has been around for a long time. It's a part of all spiritual traditions. Transcendental meditation was really popular like in the 70s, maybe early 80s. You may have heard of mindfulness-based stress reduction. That's being taught at a lot of academic medical centers now, and it's been probably the most researched because it's being done at academic medical centers. And there is a lot of research coming out on meditation, which I don't have time to talk about today, but it does really help with a lot of different things. There's also a lot of misperceptions about meditation. And meditation, first of all, is not a religion. It can be used within any religion, but it in itself is not religious. It isn't about relaxation, and this is probably the most common misperception. People often do get very relaxed in meditation, and that's a great benefit when it happens, but that's not the goal. The goal is to train the mind to be in the present moment. So it's really more about training the mind and opening the heart. It is an attempt to stop thinking or only have positive thoughts. It's you don't have to have a blank slate, but it's cultivating an awareness about those thoughts that's a little bit different than being completely overwhelmed or controlled by those thoughts. And it doesn't eliminate sadness or rough patches from life. I mean, that's part of human existence, and if we're living a full life, there's going to be challenges, and that's not necessarily bad, as Holly reminded us. And it doesn't have to require huge amounts of time. So this is the book that I really like for beginners who are interested in learning meditation, Real Happiness by Sharon Salzberg. Mindfulness, it means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. Because really all we have is the present moment. Everything else is imaginary. And how often do we find ourselves, worrying about the future and getting all worked up about something that may or may not happen, or thinking about the past, and we're, missing out on what we're doing right now. One great thing about technology these days is there's a lot of great free resources out there. The UCLA Mindful Awareness Research Center has free guided meditations and podcasts. That Dartmouth site there has free guided relaxation practices that can be really good, so you can try them out. Center for Healthy Minds, I'll talk about in the next slide. And then phone apps. And a lot of people are really getting into the phone apps. Or I had a patient the other day, I had never seen her before, but she already had something on her watch where it reminded her every hour to take breaths. And she showed it to me, and a little flower would come on, and it would expand on the inhale and contract on the exhale. The Insight timer is probably my favorite out of these, and it's free. You can get it on any smartphone. And they have guided relaxation, guided yoga nidra, but also guided mindfulness meditation practices. So this is, I borrowed from the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds, which is in Madison. And Richie Davidson is the leader of that center. He's been doing really amazing neuroscience research there for decades. And some of what he's done is to investigate what happens in the mind during meditation. But also they've just been looking at, what makes people emotionally healthy, and how can we learn from them and apply this to other groups of people. So right now they're doing some research on using some of these practices with police officers in Madison and also in the school district. So they have a recommendation of a 5-3-1 daily practice for well-being in the workplace. So mindfully meditate 5 minutes each day, identify 3 good things each evening, that gratitude practice, and extend at least 1 act of kindness each day. And that's one benefit about our careers in healthcare. We have so many opportunities to extend that act of kindness because we interact with people all day long. This is my niece. That was a couple of years ago. The most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. So bringing that mindful awareness into our interactions with others can be very beneficial. So I will turn it over now. We'll have time for questions at the end.
That was a really great presentation. Thank you for that. Just talking about stress and mindfulness and breathing. I need to do more of that in my life. But as many of you have probably received earlier this week on Wednesday, you got an email from us with some new wellness changes that will be happening in 2017. And so we wanted to go over what exactly those changes were and also celebrate the successes that we've had over the past year. So in 2016, it was a big year for us in Fond du Lac. We have been working on a 3-year project called the Well City Fond du Lac Project, and that has concluded, which means that 20 employers representing 20% of the population here in Fond du Lac have all received a Well Workplace designation. Agnesian HealthCare was one of the first organizations to receive that, and since then many other organizations have followed suit. And we will be named a Well City, along with, so that will make us the 5th city in Wisconsin to be named a Well City, right alongside Oshkosh, Milwaukee, the Fox Cities, and Racine. So that is a great accomplishment for us in moving forward here as a community. In addition to that, in 2016, those of you who completed the biometric screen, we had high percentages of people meeting the qualifying ranges. 95% met the qualifying range for blood pressure and 92% for glucose. We also saw an improvement of those of you that were participating in reasonable alternative standards, and those were health coaching, online workshops, and working with your provider. So that is all really great things that people are taking steps forward to improve their health. So as a result of that, we feel like we are ready as an organization to take further steps to encourage you to take those steps to maintain your health and improve it so that we can be an example to our community and the patients that we serve. So in the email that you probably got earlier this week, this is what our scorecard at our biometric screen will look like. You'll see that it's categorized in green, yellow, and red. The green meaning this is the optimal range based on national recommendations from sources like the American Heart Association and so forth. So those optimal ranges, if at your biometric screen you fall within one of those, you would earn 20 points. In the yellow category, that's considered to be the at-risk. So you would still earn some points, you would earn 10. Within the red range, that is considered to be the high-risk range, and those are not worth any points. So when you come in to do your biometric screen, you'll notice some of this has changed as well. We'll be screening blood pressure, tobacco use, doing the nicotine screen, BMI, and fasting glucose. So you might be wondering, I don't see cholesterol in there. What happened to cholesterol? Why aren't you doing that anymore? The reason why cholesterol is not on here is because over the past few years, this has been an area that we've been doing quite well with as an organization. Cholesterol isn't a risk for us. We are, as an organization, do have some very high risks with blood pressure, weight, and BMI, as well as glucose, and we'll be focusing our energy and our programming on those top risk factors. You'll also notice that under the BMI category, that body fat will be an optional thing that you can do this year. We have had a lot of feedback, we heard you, and some of you have said, I work out a lot, I lift weights, I have a lot more lean body mass on me, I don't feel like my BMI is accurate. So what we'll be doing this year is we will have the bioelectrical impedance device, which is a handheld device to assess body fat. And if your body fat is within either those optimal or yellow ranges, you would earn those points accordingly. So I just want to remind everybody that with the bioelectrical impedance device, for it to be most accurate, you do need to be properly hydrated, which hopefully you are anyway for your blood draw. That makes that a whole lot easier. So if you're planning on doing the body fat option, just keep that in mind. The other thing on here is that the total points are now out of 100 versus 142 as they have been in the past. This is a nice, easy round number to remember versus 142. It's kind of an obscure number. So all of these things will be out of 100, and then you'll notice at the bottom that the point minimum to qualify for the premium incentive is 90 points. I realize that you might be saying to yourself, well, that's not realistic, that's impossible, Chrissy, how do you expect me to get there? The reason why we set this at 90 is because although we were meeting, 90% of us were meeting the qualifying ranges for our glucose and for our blood pressure. Those qualifying ranges were actually considered to be moderate or high risk. We don't really want people to stay in those moderate risk ranges because you're more likely to end up with some sort of chronic disease as a result of that. So previously in the past years, you could miss in up to 3 of those areas. You could be at risk or in high risk in 3 areas and still qualify for the incentive without having to take any further action. So the scorecard is designed that we want you to be taking steps. We want you to be working with your provider and getting involved in programming so that you're educated, you know what's available, you know what steps you can take to reduce those risks. And if we had lowered this number below 90, we would be in the same situation as last year, that you could still be at a moderate or high risk and not need to do anything else. So although that the scorecard is more strict and difficult to achieve automatically at your biometric screen, we have incorporated a lot more reasonable alternatives that you can participate in. Last year, it was health coaching, online workshops, and working with your provider. So we'll continue to offer those. All of these programs will be free. The programs that have demonstrated the greatest results are worth the most points. So you'll see those at the top. And I'll kind of walk through them. So first, the pre-diabetic and the On My Way to Total Living program. Those are 10-week courses that will be offered at all 3 hospital locations at various times throughout the year. So you'll be seeing more information on those on vital signs, as well as when you come in to do your biometric screen, you'll get a handout with the exact dates and times, locations of those classes if you wanted to participate in one of those. The next one is the primary care visit form. So there has been some changes to this, some legal changes actually. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC, passed some new rules and regulations this year that go into effect January 1st that impact corporate wellness programs. One that is specifically going to impact Agnesian HealthCare is, in the past, if you were working with your provider, that would be a clearance. If you were, say, at 50 points, you could get all of them back last year if you had your provider visit. that is not the case under their new ruling. So we still encourage you to work with your provider, and this will be worth 15 points. So we just want to give everyone a heads up that if you submitted that form and didn't participate in the coaching or online workshops last year, you might need to engage in some of these other programs to still qualify for the incentive. The next one is health coaching, and these will be free. They'll be at various times. These sessions will now be worth 5 points versus 15, and the reason for that is because research and literature states that to be most effective, 3 to 16 health coaching sessions are needed. So we want them to be effective and we want them to work, and this is going to encourage additional coaching sessions. The smoking cessation program, that has been in place for a while now, and it will still be offered. This is an online program that is done through the Know and Go Health Tracker. Those who test positive for nicotine will need to complete this to be eligible for the incentive. And we want to remind everyone that this is done online, and it is a 4-week workshop. We've had a couple people think that it was like a health stream module and they could just click through it. That's not how our system works. So it does take the 4 weeks to complete it. With the workshops, they are worth 10 points, as you'll see. So since nicotine is worth 20, somebody who's positive for nicotine will still need to do something else. And they could work with a provider, they could work with a health coach, and that way it's going to reiterate and reinforce the information that they have learned through that workshop to help them quit and stay tobacco-free. The online workshops, like I mentioned, those are done online. They're worth 5 points each, and they're anywhere from 1 week to 12 weeks in length. So you will need to have a little foresight and planning and not wait until the last minute to complete those, since some of them take 12 weeks to complete. The wellness challenges is something new that you can earn points for. So these challenges will be worth 5 points each, and we'll have 3 different challenges throughout the year that you can participate in. In March, we always do a National Nutrition Month challenge. In May, it's National Employee Health and Fitness Month, and we do something for that. And then in the fall, we also do some sort of challenge. So you can stay tuned for more details on those. The one at the bottom is the mid-year recheck. So let's say you come in and you do your biometric screen with us in January, and your blood pressure is maybe 146 over 92. So you are in the high-risk range. But then over the course of the year, you see your provider, they talk to you about some things, they maybe give you some recommendations, or you see Dr. Norden to help with your stress. And then you are working with Morgan as a health coach, and you're setting some goals. So over the course of those couple months, you make some lifestyle changes to your nutrition, your exercise, your stress, your blood pressure comes down. When you come in to do a recheck, this is optional. You can do that at any of the hospital locations at St. Agnes, Ripon, or Waupun, July 10th through the 28th. And let's say your blood pressure comes down and now it's 118 over 78. Now you're in an optimal range. You would get all of your blood pressure points back. So that recheck that will be done in July, we will be checking blood pressure, weight, and glucose. So if you make changes in any one of those areas, this will be a free optional recheck for you as an option to earn some additional points back. So here are some comments and testimonials that we have heard over the last year that I wanted to share with you. One person said, I came in thinking 12 weeks equals 2 pounds per week, 24 pounds. That's great. I didn't lose that much weight, but I gained so much more. Each week I worked on the information given in the class, and I learned so much. It's more than eat right, eat less, and exercise. And that was someone from the On My Way group. Someone in coaching, they said these coaching sessions have been a good way to gain further knowledge on areas I could improve. And then when I first started, I was only getting about 3,000 steps per day. Each week I've been challenging myself to increase that. I'm up to almost 10,000 steps now. So that's from our most recent challenge that we've done. And if I could just give a little bit of encouragement to you, Morgan and I have had quite a few people reach out to us and say, You know, I saw my glucose going up over the last couple of years, and I'm now diagnosed as diabetic. I wish I would have known then what I know now. And while diabetes is very close to my heart, as Holly had mentioned, my dad is a diabetic and disabled because of that. So it pulls on my heartstrings quite a bit. And so I'm happy that, you know, this person wants to make changes now, but at the same time I'm very sad because they could have avoided a chronic illness that is going to be debilitating to them and prevent them from living the life that they had dreamed of and wanted. And so Morgan and I, we are passionate about helping people. We don't want to see you in that situation. We're here for you. We're not going to yell at you. We're not here to shame you or condemn you. And so if you need help or you don't know what to do as your next step, then please reach out to us and we can help you get on that right path and help you be well and qualify for the incentive. So next I'm going to have Morgan come up here and she's going to tell you about some other changes happening.
So what I'm going to go through next is a couple scenarios about what it would look like after you get your biometric screen done. So these results are going to show up in about 2 weeks following your biometric screen. As you can see, this is an example of what a scorecard might look like, so I'm going to walk you through that. At the very top, like Chrissy mentioned, the things that we're going to be looking at, so both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, glucose, BMI, and then nicotine. So for this individual, at the very bottom, you can see that they achieved 60 points on their biometric scorecard. In the right-hand column, you'll see the points that they earned, and it will total up there on the bottom. So as Christy had mentioned, in order to achieve the wellness incentive, you would need to get 90 points. So an example for this individual would be they could complete either On My Way or the pre-diabetic course and get 20 points back. That would then bring them to 80. And then another option would be that they could complete health coaching or online workshops. So we will have quite a bit of workshops available to those individuals who need to do that, as well as health coaching times. The next scenario is going to be for an individual who is in the high risk category but tested negative for nicotine. So as you will see, if you are in the high risk category in any of the areas for 2017, there will be no outcomes listed like there was on the last one. So meaning that you got 0 points for those. As you can see, this person did test negative for nicotine, so they did get 20 points for that. Therefore, this individual would need to get 70 points back. So a few options would be to complete both On My Way and the pre-diabetic course and getting those 40 points back, seeing their primary care provider, and then completing 3 coaching sessions. So that is just one of the options that this individual would be able to do to get those points back. What's wonderful about having more reasonable alternatives this year is that you get to choose what programs interest you. So if going to an on-site class is not what is interesting to you and you'd rather talk to a health coach or do a workshop, you can certainly do so. I did get the question, well, what if I'm in a high-risk category and I test positive for nicotine? Therefore, I have 0 points on my scorecard. What would that look like? So then, you wouldn't have this tobacco blue line here. It would say 0. And if someone failed their biometric screen, that's okay. They're going to need to do some additional work. So what they would do is we would encourage them to see their primary care provider, complete the pre-diabetic and the On My Way course, complete the smoking workshop, the online workshop, and then finish the rest of their points either with the recheck in July or speak with a health coach. So a couple other changes that are going to be happening for 2017 is associates will be able to bring a workout buddy to the zone in the Ripon Wellness Center if they are a member. For non-associates, so let's say if someone wanted to bring their son or their daughter or their brother, that person would just need to be over 16 years of age. If an associate wanted to bring another associate or a spouse, they could do so. They just need to have one associate per visit. Another change that is going to be happening for 2017 is health coaching is going to be allowed to be completed during your work time. So we have heard in our coaching sessions that it's difficult for someone to find time to get in their 30-minute coaching session. So now you'll be able to do it on your work time. This gives those associates or spouses who maybe need to complete more than one reasonable alternative the time to do so. And then lastly, as Chrissy had already mentioned, we will be doing the rechecks in July. So those will run from July 10th to the 28th, and those will be at Associate Health. So we encourage you, if you did not meet the point requirement during your biometric screen from January to March, that you really get into some programs, and then we can recheck those things in July. And then just a couple reminders as we close out 2016. The gym and weight management reimbursement forms can be found on the health tracker under the quick links section, and those are due to us by January 15th. If we do not receive those by the 15th, we will not be able to reimburse you. So we encourage you to reach out to the gym that you're involved with and get those visits printed off. Also a reminder that registration for biometrics is going to begin on December 1st, and that's going to be on the Know and Go Health Tracker. We will be doing the biometrics from January 16th to March 10th. This year, we actually have a new location for biometrics. So we're going to be doing them in the former work and wellness area in the minor care. So that is where it will be here at St. Agnes. The satellite clinics will also be doing biometric screens this year again, and that will be during just the month of February, so February 1st to the 28th. If you wanted to complete your biometric screen at a satellite, you would need to contact them directly. And then the last thing on the to-do, and as Holly had mentioned, the holiday challenge is going to begin on November 21st and run through the first of the year. This is a 6-week challenge, and it focuses on staying active during the holiday season and being mindful of those things as we get closer to biometrics. A few highlights about the challenge that are a little bit different than the last one that we ran. There is going to be 3 different groups for this challenge. So as you can see on the flyer, there's going to be a shuffle, trot, and fly group. And as you can see with our penguins and our turkey and our deer, each of those groups is going to have a different step goal. So our last Walking for Wellness challenge, the goal was to get 5,000 steps a day. We heard from associates that they felt it was fairly easy, so we have set some new step goals. If you want to participate in the shuffle group, your goal would be 6,000 steps a day. If you were in the trot group, your goal would be 9,000 steps a day. And then lastly, the fly group would be 12,000 steps a day. For those of you that would like to participate in the challenge, you just want to have a team captain reach out to Chrissy or myself. We can get your team established and have your captain set. The captain would be responsible of leading weekly walking groups, encouraging their teammates to meet the steps goal. One thing that is a little bit different about this challenge than the last one is, let's say I wanted to be in the shuffle group and Chrissy wanted to be in the trot group, we would need to split off into two separate teams. So all of the team members would need to be under one group. And then the prizes for this challenge, we are going to be handing out free enrollment for our Smart Dollar financial program for those people who meet the weekly step goal. And then we will have individual prizes at the end for those people who meet the total steps goal. And then lastly, we will have the team prize as well, similar to the last challenge. So the team prize for this one is a massage. So that will be very nice. And then we have a bonus for this one that is also a little bit different than the last challenge. For those people who lose weight during this challenge, we will be donating 1 item per food to the Ripon and Waupun food pantries. And then also, information about the challenge has been up on Vital Signs. Otherwise, you guys can contact Chrissy or myself and we can get you signed up. So I believe now we're going to open it up for questions for Dr. Norden and Chrissy and myself. I do just want to point out that Chrissy and I are always available if you guys have any questions. I know there's quite a bit of changes coming for 2017 and we encourage you to reach out if you have any questions.